In today's episode of the Pathway Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Gary Arnold. He's hailing over as the director of marketing at Executech. And Executech is a very interesting company, basically, supporting their clients in their tech endeavors. And today we want to really deep dive what Executech is all about, who they're serving, and how they're serving their clients, for example, difficult to navigate industries such as cybersecurity, which is obviously getting a large push all over the globe today. And yeah, Gary, welcome to the show.
Hi, Lucas. Great to be here.
Of course. Maybe give everybody who's listening in like a quick overview. What is Executech all about in your own words?
Yeah, Executech, we are a managed IT service provider, which means we act as an outsourced IT department for small to medium-sized businesses. What that often looks like is anything from fixing the printer to installing a firewall to, making sure the internet is running. Mm-hmm. We pride ourselves on, what's the phrase that we use? Human nerds, more approachable nerds, friendly nerds. We pride ourselves on our people being more down to earth, more approachable than your average IT nerd, bringing the human touch back to IT.
Who said that nerds are not friendly? That's new to me.
Exactly. Well, there's some stereotypes out there, but we love to break them.
Just kidding. Very good. Awesome. Cool. That gives us a good understanding. Now, what would you say? What are the types of organizations that you work with? What is the types of clients certain industries, certain size of employees that they need to have in order to be relevant to be working with Executech? Maybe tell us a bit more about the typical client.
Yeah, for us, size is definitely probably the biggest factor. We joke that at the end of the day, everyone uses a computer, so everyone could use our services. We currently don't focus on particular verticals or industries. We have some, contemporaries or sister companies that do focus on a particular vertical, but we have found success in a variety of different industries, but it's typically company size that dictates whether they'll be a good fit for our services. We're looking at companies anywhere from 20 to maybe 150 employees. Once a company brings in-house their IT needs, has a CTO and such, there's certainly work that we can do for them and do for them, but it becomes a little different. And so we tend to go after the companies that are just getting their feet wet with formal IT.
Yeah, no, makes total sense. Now, you're obviously in the marketing seat. Like, how do folks hear about Executech? Like, what's their journey looking like of hearing about you guys, getting interested? Maybe tell us a bit about the channels that you guys leverage.
Yeah, I mean, in general, the managed IT, the IT services space is kind of a little bit of a reactionary one in that it's one of those things most people don't think about IT unless there's something going wrong. When IT is working well, you don't even notice it. It's meant to be in the background. That's somewhat intentional. And so a lot of people, when they need IT, they need it urgently. And they go out and they look. And so we want to make sure that we are in those channels, that they are actively looking when something's wrong. And it might not be anything dramatically wrong, though sometimes it is, as you alluded to. There's a lot of cybersecurity related incidents and fear out there, and we are certainly there to help and to address those. But sometimes it might just be discomfort. The internet has been slower than average around here. Our current IT isn't responding to tickets like we want them to, and that spurs them to reach out or to go on a hunt. And again, we want to be in those places where our customers are looking and hunting. And often that is just Google, honestly. So SEO is a large part of our marketing strategy and staying visible in the local markets that we serve in SEO. I think that's a major one. We could explore the other ones as well.
Yeah, I mean, give us maybe a high-level overview. SEO, we'll focus on that and the online journey, but maybe if there's an insight into what else you're discovering as a marketer, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we also are trying to stay visible and participate across the digital sphere. That includes, of course, social media, getting more involved in social digital communities, and getting our content out there, which takes the form of podcasts and webinars and many others. We also do some more old school traditional tactics, which include events and participating in third-party or industry associations. That's been a long time part of the sales and marketing efforts at Executech, and one that's been very successful for us as well.
Gotcha. Very cool. Okay. Yeah, let's talk a bit more about the website. And that's crucial, obviously, when you're focusing on SEO. How do you personally think about the website? Like, what role does it play for the business?
A website, I believe, is critical to every business. If you believe otherwise, you're kidding yourself. It's 2022, for heaven's sakes. And the website, in my opinion, also needs to be more than just a pretty brochure, which I fear a lot of businesses see it that way, as it's just a brochure. The way that consumers and businesses, your point of contacts, prospects, are researching and consuming content eventually leads to the website. All roads lead to the website at some point or another, whether you have a purely outbound, whether you're even a door-to-door business. Yes, those still exist. People are going to look you up on your website. Or maybe your product, your service is entirely web-based, and so your website is the service. Either way, the website is critical, and we view it as such. Now, is our website perfect? No, of course not. Every website should be a living and breathing thing, in that it evolves and it grows and adapts to the times and to the data that you're collecting off of it. I guess I've kind of emphasized enough that the website's important. Where else do you want me to take this, Lucas?
No, I think you gave it all that we need. So what I'm curious is, if the website is really important, which it obviously is, where do you see strength as a marketer versus where do you see room for improvement? Because the website is an ever evolving space. Where do you personally, where are you excited about, getting a new spin on the website, new content, new experiences? What do you have in mind sort of for the website moving forward?
Yeah, one thing I've tried to explore and refine on our new website. Our website's, this iteration is relatively new. We launched it this beginning of this year, in fact. One of the things I want to continue to refine is the content discovery on our website. Mm-hmm. Again, as I mentioned, somebody in our space that might be, looking for IT or needing IT help, helping facilitate that journey of exploration. Some of them just want to skip to the I need help now, let's get the help. And we want to make sure that's readily available. But others are not sure what it looks like to outsource their IT or what that really entails. And so we've created a lot of content over the years, but making that content more digestible, more informative, and more readily available is something that I want the website to accomplish. But also outside of the website, how am I bringing that content to them where they're already at? And that doesn't necessarily mean getting them back to the website to consume the content, allowing them to consume the content within the social feed, for example, or wherever they may be. So letting the website facilitate that entire content educational process and journey is high on my mind.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned this journey, and I think that's quite interesting. Specifically, if you're running into technology products, many people are technology issues. They're somewhere at the beginning of the journey, and they end up somewhere very different in order to find the solution. How do you think about that journey for the website? Like, is there anything that you've learned over the years when you were with Executech when it comes to helping to convert people on the website or finding their way around? Is there anything that what's your take on the journey that people go through on the page?
My thoughts on this have shifted somewhat over the years, and I do have a small plug for an individual that people should start looking at or following on LinkedIn and his podcast. His name is Chris Walker, and so a lot of my thoughts come from what he's been sharing. But it's nothing new, frankly. It's that the customer journey in general of the sales and marketing funnel, call it what you will, it's got a million different names. It has shifted, obviously, and has shifted over the past decade or more. In that consumers or buyers are more educated than ever coming into the sales and marketing process. By the time somebody gets to your website, it's very likely that they're already very well informed about your category, about your service or your product. That's because they've explored and they've researched amongst their peers, amongst their social network and their communities. And that's increased, I think, dramatically, especially through the pandemic, is, people really had to start grouping together virtually. And so it just really increased all this virtual research that's happening before they get to your website. And that's of course not 100% of the time, but it is, I think, the majority. And so the way you approach the content of your website, I think, needs to then change. You need to have a journey for people who are maybe coming in totally fresh, but you need to also assume that your buyer is educated, that your buyer is ready, or you need to have already done all that educating somewhere else and prepared them for, now the website's ready for the last 20% of the journey. What that actually looks like, I think it depends very much on your product or service. I very strongly believe that a website should be clear and upfront and honest, and that includes, such things as prices or packaging or delivery of your service and products. All of that should be very clear, very succinct, very easy to find. I could get on a little bit of soapbox, and I've done it before on LinkedIn, about SaaS companies, technology providers who hide their pricing. Reasons abound for why and how they justify hiding pricing, but at the end of the day, I feel strongly that there's not a good reason for it. Now, maybe calling the kettle black a little bit here, we don't have pricing readily available on our site, full admission here. It's something that I'd maybe like to work to in the future. We're a service company, not a product, so maybe it is a little different. But if you're a SaaS tool for whatever it may be, I think you should strongly consider adding pricing to your website. I think that's table stakes in 2022.
Yep. Makes a whole lot of sense. Very cool. No, enjoyed that little exploration of your journey in the years with Executech and the website. I would like to switch gears a little bit, right, and talk a little bit about your journey as a marketer. Now, there's so much content out there for marketers, right, to educate yourself. I mean, you spoke about a lot of interesting concepts. You spoke about the buyer's journey, the funnels. There's tons of blog posts on how to optimize, and interviews and podcasts and so on and so forth. How do you educate yourself? Where do you like to find your high quality content to keep educating yourself as a marketer?
Yeah, there are, of course, a variety of business books, but, when it comes to marketing and usually in business, by the time a book is published, it's a little outdated. But I do still believe that there are tried and true principles of marketing that are universally applicable, and some of those can be found in books, but it also is found in the trenches doing marketing, frankly, just getting in the trenches and trying, experimenting, failing, and learning. So that's one way of learning, I think. Another is customer insight in general, talking to your end users, talking to your customers, asking them about your marketing is a great source of continued insight and learning. And the last one for me, another big one that I've really come to appreciate over the past year or two, is peers and communities. And that includes, I spend a good amount of time on LinkedIn. I've made sure my feed is fairly curated of people that are smarter than me and are sharing regular insights. And then, so that's one way that I'm getting little tidbits, but I also meet weekly or monthly in some cases with peers in my industry, marketing peers in my industry, to just shoot the breeze, talk about what we have going on, what's the latest, what hasn't worked. And it's been incredibly helpful. Very
cool. Got some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for you today. Are you ready for those?
Let's do it.
Quite on your point, actually, what's the one book you would recommend for a marketer to read?
Got it right here on my desk. It's called Rework. The reason I like it is that it's like daily tidbits. It's not one long story of stuff. Sorry, this was supposed to be rapid fire, so I'll just keep it at Rework.
Oh, good. Give us the insight. I think people would explore it. So what was it that you liked about it?
My beef with most business books is that they say what could be said in a LinkedIn article or a TED Talk, but they take 300 pages to do it. This book condenses, 50, 60, 80 different insights, and it's just one page per insight.
Gotcha. And specific for marketers, it's specific for founders?
Or business in general, but there's lots of good marketing tidbits in there.
Very good. What's the one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
I would probably say recruiting and retention and culture.
If there would be
problem. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I think a lot of companies are feeling the pressure of the current economic situation, recession or not. And building an effective culture as we grow has been a theme for many years at Executech, as we have grown rapidly and across many different states. So that's always a theme of focus for our company. But getting the right people in the right seats and keeping them there, keeping people engaged is a big thing we're thinking about.
If there would be no boundaries in tech, what's the one thing you would fix for your role as a marketer?
No boundaries in tech. Now, I wish I could say some cool, big AI, something or the other, but man, something just as simple as better podcast data. I feel like I don't, and it's funny because here we are on a podcast, you can probably relate, like, man, the data available for podcasters is slim to none. A little bit more would be nice.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. If there would be, actually, let's put it in a different way. What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
Sustainable for me and my department, it's the similar themes. How can we contribute to what the company is trying to accomplish of sustainable but strong growth, to the themes of retention and culture? I believe that marketing can have an impact across the organization. In virtually every department, marketing can have an impactful and positive touch. What that is, how to do it, actually executing on it, it's the unknowns that keeps me up.
And for the very last question, I'd like to do a bit of time travel. Let's go back to the days of Utah State University. You're heading out of formal education into the world of business and marketing. What's the one advice you give yourself for your journey?
Well, the funny thing about that, Lucas, is I actually never graduated from Utah State. I attended for several years, loved it up there, but I never actually graduated. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I regret that to this day. So my advice for myself would be stick to your guns, lean in and listen and learn from the marketers, the salespeople, whoever it may be around you, and gather as much insight, gather as much information. Learn. You can never start being hungry for learning too early.
Very cool. Gary, I really appreciate you took the time with us today to walk us through the world of Executech and your perspective on growth. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Executech today, what's the one thing that they should remember?
People first IT services.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Passung.
Thank you.